Hey everybody, so if you've seen on my channel recently, I've done some metal detecting videos using this Ginour metal detector. Ginour contacted me and basically said, would you be interested in reviewing one of our products? They are a Chinese Amazon-based company, as far as I can tell, that sells a multitude of different tools, you know, like metal detectors, drills, things like that, completely unrelated to each other generally. But they said, would you like to take one and do a review on it and let us know what you think of it? And I said, okay, but it's going to be completely open and honest. If I think it's rubbish, I'm going to say it's rubbish. And they said, that's cool. So yes, it's been a month. I've used it for probably around 10 hours over 4 different days, and I found some cool stuff, which I'll show you at the end of this video. And we'll do that inside in the warm in a minute, but first I need to actually show you the detector itself because I need a bit more space to do that. So it all comes in this box. Now I'm not going to go through some lengthy unboxing process, I'm just going to show you what comes in the box. Okay, so this is everything you get in the box. The detector, some cheap headphones, this is a digging tool, and I have to say I've used this a lot and I actually really quite like it. One of the major advantages of this kit is it really folds down small, including the detector, and I'll show you that. The reason that's a benefit for me is I ride motorcycles, and if I want to go somewhere, I need to be able to put it in a backpack, so it needs to collapse down. So there you go, that gives you a little pick shovel. It's actually got like a serrated edge on it on one side, made for getting through tree roots, and a bottle opener. But yeah, that little tool which comes with it is actually all right. I've used this on the beach mostly, well mainly. I've done some in my garden, and yeah, I've had the tips blunted off a bit from hitting all the stones, but it's actually held together pretty well. Again, it's not the best thing in the world, but have I mentioned how much this is? This whole kit is £75 currently. The price changes, but under 100 quid easily, between 75 and 90 pounds I've seen this. I'm sure a lot of you are quite interested in metal detecting like I was, but you just didn't want to spend the sort of 170 to 250 you need for a reasonable beginner detector. And I'm not saying this is a replacement for it, but for 75 quid, I've actually been quite impressed. But anyway, moving on, so you get that tool, you get a carry bag, for the tool. The headphones, I didn't use the headphones, I was just using the speaker built into the detector. And I tried these out this morning. They got a little volume, oh, is that a volume control? Yeah, a little volume control on here. I think it would be quite interesting to actually try and use these next time because you can hear the tonal differences from the detector without these, but it seems somewhat clearer as to different levels of tones in the earphones, which in ways makes sense. So yeah, they are very cheap, but again, they're thrown in. You can use whatever you want because it's just a 3.5mm jack. So obviously then the detector looks like this. I'm 6'4" and I found at its full extended length, it's actually been fine to use. What I will say though is that the head will knock a little bit if you're on the final extension point. I'll show you this taken apart in just a second, but you can see you've got these collars to help tighten it up. If it's up here a bit, you won't get any knocking down this end. With me, when it was down here, if you don't have that really tight, I felt a slight as I was swinging side to side. And talking about a knock, I should mention that the cup on this end has become quite loose. That's not just the pin moving here, it's the whole cup on the shaft. It seems to have wallowed that hole out a little bit from all the passes. So not amazing there, but again, you've got to remember the price here. So as you can see, there is one piece here that comes off, and that gives you your elbow cap. You can unplug the electronics here, undo a single screw here. Can't remember if this is captive or not. I hope it is captive, but I have a feeling it may not be. Oh no, that may actually be captive, because you can now take the... This come off, there we go. Electronics comes off, if you want to, although I think you'd probably leave that on there in the bag. Obviously your cable goes around the outside. You can drop that down one position to give you a little bit less length, because you know could be good for kids, because this is definitely a kid's sort of price level, but I don't think this is a kid's quality or performance detector like some people thought it was. It's not one of those toys. Yes, it's not as good as some of the bigger brands maybe, because, well, I can't claim that it is. So the closest you can get this all in is with one hole in the middle, or you could probably come up one here and bring this one back, but yeah, you can see that's now pretty short and would be fine for, you know, I don't know, a 10-year-old, maybe a bit younger, depends how tall they are. Anyway, continue on, it does still come apart more. As you can take this piece out, and then you can fold that over, and I think that's how I'd put that in my bag, because I'm not, actually no, loosen that one off. There we go, so you can reduce the detector down in your bag to that. Now, talking of build quality and stuff, as I've mentioned, there's a couple of bits that rock and knock and you need to make sure it's tightened up. But generally, this has been really good. It's good, tough plastics. I have been abusing this. Like, you know, when I'm putting it down, I'm not necessarily getting right down to the ground and placing it down. I might drop it a bit. It's been beaten around a bit. It's been covered in mud. The coil is water resistant. I'm not sure if it's submergible, but, you know, that's okay to get a bit wet. The electronics box is not, but you could always put a plastic bag over that or something if you want to melt detect in the rain. I just don't do it in the rain because I do this for fun. This is very much a little hobby for me. And this is going to be my point with this detector. If you're seriously interested in doing metal detecting properly, you know, long term, something you really want to take up as a hobby, you're going to do a lot, buy a proper machine. If you're like many people, and like me, well, you'd love to give it a go and, you know, occasionally go out for a walk, but you don't want to invest that much money into it, under 100 quid would be great. Well, as I say, this is like 70, 80 quid at this point. For the detector alone, I would have been happy with that, but you do get those extra bits, and they're actually all right. Let's go inside, because it's really cold out here, and I'll show you the things I found, and I'll also show you the screen up close, and talk a little bit more about its performance with discrimination and all its different modes. That's much better. It's nice and warm in here. Okay, so I thought I'd quickly show you the underside of the coil, because this is, as I say, been used on beaches mostly, so it's been bumped into stones and stuff, and there isn't any visible damage on it. It's a little bit sort of scraped and things, but that's probably to be expected, so no real issues there. And you adjust the tension and the pivot by tightening up these screws, which appear to be plastic, but they actually work fine. It holds it in place where you need it to be. It's not too tight, so you can't, you know, just put it on the ground and get the angle right. But yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take our cable from that, take our electronics box. So this would be just like it is on the working machine. And that plugs in the back there. You have your two battery compartments underneath. It takes a 9-volt battery each side, so it requires two. Be careful to make sure that your cables are pushed down right out of the way when you try to put the covers back on. I found a set of Duracell batteries lasted me about 8 to 12 hours. It's hard to say exactly how much time I was on the beach between all of these different trips, but it was long enough that I thought, yeah, that's fair, you know, for the cost of the square 9-volt batteries, which can be quite expensive, but if you buy them online, you can buy more of them at once and then they get cheaper. So yeah, shop around for that. You just turn it on with this one dial here. Oh, as you can hear, that's going now. And then we've got a set of buttons and things on the screen. So across the top here, we've got different markers. So when you scan over something of different materials, I need a different material. Now, I'm not going to do a 101 of metal detecting here, but just know that the number that pops up is basically telling you what type of metal it is, and then it's representing that on the top here as well. It sort of says iron, then it says 5 cents, tab is in, like, you know, I think that means like an aluminium pull tab. And then it says 1 cent, 10 cents and 25 cents, because this is set up for America. So I have not been using this other than to know that this is the iron end and this is the higher materials end. And as I say, it's been a bit all over the place, so I've not paid a huge amount of attention to it. I'm just listening to the tones and repeatedly going over it until I'm sure of what I'm finding. When you find a coin, this machine does give you a very nice, clear, consistent signal. If you're finding something in, you know, gravel, I mean, this is in wet sand as well a lot of the time, and I'm not an expert in metal detecting, but I know there is an issue with some detectors with wet sand, but this seems to work in it, although it does seem to jump around a bit. But anyway, as I say, now because it jumps around quite a lot, I've not really been using the discrimination or the notching much. Now, just to give you a quick idea of what that is, if you're not aware, just press the menu button. As you can see, it's flashing the discrimination. Basically, this means you can tell it to ignore numbers, see here, below a certain point. So if you want to get rid of all iron, you put it up something like 18, 19, something like that, and that will knock out most of the iron and steel. So, you know, your old nuts and bolts and things like that you might not want to find, this machine will not respond to those if you put it like this. But as I say, because of the fact that this jumps around a bit, if I am leaving the discrimination on, it tends to be quite low, around 10. Something like that. So I do hear pretty much everything and then just make my own mind up. Then we have notch, as I mentioned, and this allows you to specifically notch out areas. So say for instance you're getting tons and tons of aluminium and you're interested in finding something else, you can tell it to not show you aluminium. That's the notching feature. But as I say, I don't actually want to use the notching feature. This does come with a backlight. But obviously that is going to eat your battery. But if you want to use this at night, it is there. And the last one is the one I've been using, which is sensitivity. So you put it in sensitivity and you press and minus, sorry, sensitivity using these. My suggestion of what settings, if you're going to get this and use it, is put it in sensitivity mode without notching or discrimination on, and put it around there. That will mean that you won't have to dig too much, and you also don't get too many erroneous signals. If you have it really high, it seems to beep and pop at virtually any bit of ground. Not entirely, but you know what I mean. It's easier to have it a little less sensitive and a little bit more accurate. And then the P is pinpoint, which basically means you press and hold it, and it helps you pinpoint where the thing is. Let me move this around something. See how the signal's dropping in and out? That helps you find the thing. Although I found that that's actually not been that useful, really. To get back out of that mode, you press menu, just so you know. As I say, the headphone jack is there. I don't believe this to be waterproof. It has actually got holes in the top of it, so I think a plastic bag over this would be a good idea. And finally, there is a battery indicator here, which does actually seem to be pretty accurate. I replaced my batteries at the point that there was 1 bar left, and I'd been about an hour and a half into that 1 bar. I was concerned it wasn't being as effective at the time, because I set it to middle sensitivity and I'd gone along for a long time and I didn't get a beep for anything. Started to get concerned it wasn't as sensitive when it's on lower power, but I don't actually think that was the case. I think it's just because I replaced the batteries and continued to just find nothing on the same settings until I found an area where I started finding coins, a little spill of coins. So, as I say, for 75 quid, well, this is currently for sale, or 90 at its normal price, with all the extra bits and pieces, yes, this is not a replacement for your professional piece of equipment, and this is not a replacement for someone who wants to seriously get into metal detecting, but for people like me who don't want to spend too much money but do want to have a go at it, this is great. And as I say, obviously I was sent this by the company, but I had been looking at metal detectors for a long while. Obviously I've been looking at things like the Ginour Ace 150 and 250, and the prices of those was just a little bit more than I would have been willing to spend for my level of interest. So had I seen this at the time, or at least seen it and known to trust it, because I had seen the cheaper ones, I would have gone for one. But I wasn't going to take that jump myself. So when Ginour contacted me, I was like, sure. And I'm fully prepared to make a completely honest video saying this thing's rubbish, but it actually seems to be all right, especially when you consider the money. One of the other things I do when I review a product, particularly if it's from Amazon and it's pre-existing, is I will go and look at the ratings that have been left on it. On Amazon, it's got 21 ratings and it's an average of 3.9 stars. There's quite a few people giving lower ratings, so I'm going to read some of these so you can understand how Amazon ratings are actually pretty unreliable. The only 1-star rating says, make sure the holes and pins are working. I dislike item as I couldn't build it since One Piece, like I said, you shouldn't sell defective items through any shop. I think what they're trying to say is they couldn't get the pins and the holes together for the sliding tubes. Whether they were trying to put, like I realised you couldn't put them both in at the same time fully together, or there was a defective item, I don't know. Very often, you find that these 1-star reviews are more to do with people who don't know what they're talking about. So we're going to the 2-star reviews, pretty much useless, lol. This was a waste of money. The only thing cool was being outdoors and playing at treasure hunting, but in terms of being any good, I can't say that. For what reason? Like, is it because you didn't find anything good, or do you not know how to use it, or what? But whatever. Batteries not included. I chose this specific item as it said that the batteries were included. I didn't see anywhere it saying batteries included, and that's it. Not having batteries, that's not a relevant point to reviewing a product, is to know if it's any good or not. This is why doing reviews like this is actually quite valuable. And then there's other people giving it 5 stars, saying it was great fun at the beach, some loves it, blah, blah, blah. Which, again, with Amazon, I don't know how much I trust all reviews. This is, I'm being completely open and honest here. I know a lot of reviews on Amazon are not trustworthy, but if you go down to the 1 stars, they tend to be the truthful ones. And if it's not people saying it's broken, there's multiple ones like that. If it's people who seem to just not know what they're doing, that's a good sign. So as a conclusion, I think this is a good little metal detector. It is not professional grade. It is not a toy either. It's not like one of those little kids ones. It's definitely based on something very similar to, like, the Ace 150 or the Ace 250, something like that. May not have the same accuracy, may not work as well in certain conditions. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I found things. So if that's what you want to do, you want to find things and you're not being, you know, you're not trying to specifically find an exact thing, you just want to see what's out there. Cheap, does the job, comes with the other tools that you need. Good, highly recommended. Ginour, good product. Thank you, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this for a while. If you ever feel like making anything better than this, like, you know, another one that maybe a little bit more accurate or something like that, let me know, I'll be very interested in it. Also, I don't know if you've ever got this in the plans, but this is the other product I recommend people grab if you're going to get this, and that is a pinpointer. Now, this amazing orange stick, this is also from Amazon. I bought this with my own money. This was about £15. You can buy Garrett versions of this, which are completely submergible and cost like over 100, I think, or near 100. And the idea of these is that you turn them on, and when you're trying to find the thing in the ground, rather than having to use the metal detector and putting, like, grabbing a handful and seeing if it beeps, you can, let me get a pair of scissors here, use this, and the closer you get, it vibrates and beeps. Massively helpful when trying to find coins and sand and earth and things like that. I tried to do some metal detecting without this, and it was just not much fun. Being able to be able to find the thing using this was brilliant. As I say, this was £15. It is waterproof up to about here. I have used it in the rain, it was fine. This just takes a single 9-volt battery, which just presses in. I forgot about that. It doesn't actually like plug in or anything, it just presses in. It comes with a little holster thing for your belt, which is very, very useful. I advise using that and you won't lose it. It also comes with a lanyard so you don't leave it behind. I'm not using that, but I also haven't left it behind. But then I'm used to taking equipment places and making sure I've got it when I leave. Yeah, this was like 15 quid. Highly recommended as well. If Ginour ever want to make a version like this of a pinpointer, again, send me one of those. I'd be interested in trying that out. But this, it works. It makes things easier. And yes, it's not as good as the high-end ones, but it's 15 quid. So for, you know, at this point in time, 75, 80, for 90 quid, you can get an entire metal detecting setup. You've got headphones, metal detector, shovel, carry case, and one of these for under 100 quid. And yes, you can find stuff with it. And if you're interested in buying one of these Ginour detectors, I do have a 10% off code link in the description. Thanks to Ginour for giving me that. To my understanding, I get no kickbacks from that. That's just a discount to say thanks to you guys. So if you are interested in grabbing one, do it, but feel no pressure to do so. I'm not trying to sell you this product. I am just reviewing it because I was asked to. Whether you buy one or not, it's completely up to you. And that's that. So, yeah. Good thing, I like it. Do you want to see the things I found? And also, do you want to see, the final item is the thing that split the internet. And it's probably going to do it again in the comments of this video. Now, because I was testing this machine, I dug virtually everything just to see what was there, whether it was erroneous or whether there really was something there or whether it was close to what it was saying it was. And generally the numbers seem to meet up if you got, you know, repeatedly swung the detector enough. You could be like, okay, yeah, that seems like something's there. So from the junk pile, this is just, you know, brass fittings off a boat, a little piece of copper pipe that's been flanged, some other little pieces of aluminium or leading, some other, you know, just random bits and pieces, an old wind-up car handle, an old dart, some pieces of aluminium, a fishing lure. Also a possible hair clip, but it's very thick and only slightly curved, so I don't know. Really don't know about that one. It's interesting. Of course, what a lot of people want to find is coins. And as I say, I've been searching on the beach. These beaches have been searched by many people over the years, so it's not rich ground. I've also tried my garden, and we found a few things there, but we also found a million air rifle pellets and stuff, and screws and nuts and bottle caps, and it's basically you could dig any area of the ground and find something in it. But these are the things I found on the beach, and some of these are actually reasonably old. Like, you know, got some 1p's, 2p's, 5's, 20's, an old 10p, from 1975, and these two 50p's I found within about 10 yards of each other, and they're both 1969. So they've been there quite a while. But yeah, those are the coins that I found at the time. Didn't find any old currency, didn't find any silver, any gold, any rings, any necklaces or anything like that. That may be because the detector didn't detect them, but I have tested it using like gold and silver and things that I had of my own, and it seemed to represent those different numbers. I'm not sure what scale it's using because I think there is a couple of different scales, but as I say, you get to know the machine, you get to realise what sort of beeps refer to what, and whether something sounds like you want to dig it or not. As I say, I'm doing this for fun, so I don't mind spending time digging little pieces of trash and just being interested by, I wonder what that was. But the coolest thing, without doubt, that I found, and I only found this yesterday, and I'm afraid this wasn't on video because I went for a walk to do a final test with the Detector and also to try and run the battery down to give you that sort of idea of how long the battery lasts. On a beach overlooking the Solent, where fights during World War II were done, I found this little die-cast plane. Now, hold on, let it focus. Yeah, this has split the internet a little bit because I can't work out, or we can't work out, whether this is supposed to be a Spitfire or a Hurricane. There are things about it that look very Spitfire-ish and things about it that look very Hurricane-ish. And also, what many people have missed the point they're saying about how the wing shape is not elliptical enough. This has been in the sea, and the salt water and electrolysis has eroded away the edge all the way around the wings, which has flattened them off, all the way around. I mean, it's eaten right in here, as you can see, but the actual true shape of these wings is not here. The reason it looks quite even, I believe, is because it just degrades at a similar rate. In the comments, go ahead, tell us what you think. Like, some people have noticed, like, the gun positions are probably good for Spitfire, but, like, the tail shape might be good for something else, but then again, the distance between here and here is another thing, and then the canopy shape. So this, as I say, this really has split the internet, and the truth of it may be, simply, that it's an amalgamation of two, and it's not entirely one or the other. But that, to me, is so cool. Probably lost 50, 60 years ago by a kid on the beach. I mean, who was playing there years after it was really going on above his head. Or her. I'm not going to assume it was a boy, but, you know, that is possibly one of the coolest things I've ever found on the beach. And not because of what it is, but it just makes me feel it's quite sort of representative of the pilots of the day. Like, this little toy that represents them was sitting in the sea like many other real Spitfires, and sadly they're pilots. So this makes me think back to, you know, World War II and what those people did for us, and I think for that reason alone, that's the best thing I've ever found. And it was found with a cheap Chinese detector that may not be the best thing in the world, but I'm happy. And if I'd bought this myself, as I say, I did buy this, but if I bought the detector myself at 75 or 90 quid, I would have been over the moon. So there you go. There is my review, completely open and honest. I'm not an expert at metal detecting. I've done a bit when I was younger. I've watched a lot of people doing it. I understand the basics, but I've just never pulled the trigger on buying one. If you want to see me using the machine, I know I've not done any of that in this video. You can see that in a couple of videos which I've previously uploaded, which I'll link in the description. But otherwise I will be doing future videos, although the problem with my detecting is it's on these big beaches and I may only find a handful of things, and it's not as interesting as a lot of what other people get to do on all sorts of different, you know, private land and stuff, but whatever. I really enjoy going for a walk and doing a bit of detecting, and that's that. If you enjoyed this video, smack that like button, I really appreciate it. Thanks to Ginour for sending me that, and if you do any future metal detecting equipment, I'll be very interested in trying that out. Now, as I say, this is a completely honest review. Ginour has not paid me anything other than sending me the detector. So if you want to help support this channel so it can exist, please consider doing that through Patreon. I actually make motorcycle videos normally, but I make a vast range, really, of different videos. But yeah, check it out. If you want to help support the channel, please do that. Check out the other content. Oh, and just before I go, if you do buy a metal detector, understand you can't just go and use it anywhere you wish. There are rules and regulations about where you can use it. One of the reasons I like the beach so much is because between the mean high water mark and mean low water mark, that basically means the average low water mark and the high water mark is known as treasure trove. It is Crown land, but you are allowed to, without permission, search there and keep what you find. Obviously, if you make some archaeological discovery that's significant, even if you find it in lands that you can keep it, you have to report it and go through that process. But the point is, that's why I use this on the beach so much. And that may also be, as I say, with the sand and the wetness and all that, why I'm getting some erroneous signals that are a bit over the place. In the garden, on normal mud, it actually, probably thinking about it, was more accurate. But yeah, there we go. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.